Pokemon, Kaiju, Dragon Ball, and more. It's Steven's Toy Reviews. Hello there, collectors. It is Steven here, and I am back with another NECA figure review, and this time it is going to be not only my first cloth figure review, but it is also going to be my first figure review for the Guillermo del Toro collection, or signature collection, whatever it is, from NECA, and that is going to be of the man himself, the NECA Guillermo del Toro, which was an SDCC exclusive for 2018. Yep, I managed to get this and Hawkins, but not the Ninja Turtles. I got them later with the GameStop release. Anyway, this release is a 7-inch scale cloth figure, closer to the 8-inch mark in height, and it is of a prolific director and producer and all-around monster and mythical stuff and fantasy, sci-fi. He is a legend. And of course, a lot of fans are going to want to know if this limited to 2,000 run figure might be worth the purchase, considering even more so, it's from SDCC as an exclusive. So let's take a look to see whether or not he's worth adding into your collection. Looks-wise overall, yep, checks out, it's Guillermo del Toro. All right, let's go home. No, let's talk about the paint apps, let's talk about the stitching quality for the clothing, and all of that good stuff. To be honest with you, from a distance, he looks just perfectly fine, and there's nothing wrong here. Except when you take a closer look, he doesn't quite match up with the prototypes, and you start to notice some of the quality control, not necessarily that great. Why is that? Well, there are a couple of things going on here with the figure. So let's first and foremost take a look at that head sculpt and that wonderful face of his right there. And I do have to say, NECA did a great job of hiring a well-known sculptor to you all now, in the Godzilla fandom anyway, Trevor Grove, who sculpted his head. At least I'm 100% sure on that. So yes, he does look like the man, the myth, and the legend. The facial hair paint apps are kind of dodgy here and there, but you know what? It's okay considering the scale. As we move on throughout the rest of the figure, yes, the clothing looks great. It's totally fine, but where there is a bit of a concern is the paint application. You kind of saw it looked a little hit or miss on the face, specifically the skin colors, and that is because NECA opted to use their normal cloth figure body for this release. Not a problem. That's why they made it. What is a problem is that the skin for the body, except for the hands and the face, it's like it belongs to a completely different person. Yep, they didn't bother to match anything together here. So the hands are painted, and since they are painted and there is a hinge joint there, the paint does flake. Yep. It is also relatively easy to damage, so make sure he does not take a shelf dive in any way, shape, or form. Anyway, we're going to go ahead and talk about proportions here for a minute, because that is one critique I do see about this figure, and I really don't think it's justified. A lot of folks say he needs to be significantly heavier, and I gotta be honest with you, I'm not seeing it here. Yes, he is a bigger dude, and I am a big dude myself, but I do have to say, for how he looks currently, I don't know, looks totally fine to me. Anyway, as we take in a head look, we're all the way down now to the toes at the feet, where we can see the shoes are sculpted rather well, and we can see that nice brown chicken leg of a, well, leg he has. Yeah, it's kind of off-putting. So anyway, for the stitching quality of the clothing, looks great. The paint application, not very good, but for the likeness in the head sculpt, it is great. Overall, you are definitely going to be able to tell that this is Guillermo del Toro, and he is going to look nice on your shelf if you're not really looking at the super fine details. Articulation time, and this figure is not meant to be a super duper highly articulated action figure like, let's say, a Figuarts or even some of the other standard NECA stuff. So we are going to have some joints, so this way we can pose a good old GDT here in a couple of different ways, but realistically speaking, it's just so this way we can sort of spice him up on the shelf. So what do we have? The head is attached into the neck on a ball joint, so this way we can get him to look left, right, side to side, up and down. That's going to be about the extent of the movement there. We do have swivels and hinges at the shoulders, so this way we can raise his arm up like that. And yes, he, for those of you who would need it, he can T-pose, so there you go. As you can kind of see, we do have a bicep swivel there, so that's very nice. And then, just as a confirmation, we have a single hinged elbow. So this way you can bend the arm just like that. So this way you can get him to get into a few different poses with his arms. And of course, we do have the swivel hinge wrists. So this way you can move the hands around as well. No ab crunch or waist joint of any kind, but considering there's the padding that's in there, that's okay. We don't really need that too much. Now, if you were to remove his pants, you would see that there are hinges which allow the hips to move out to the side just like that. He could do the splits. And there are also swivels, so this way he can move his legs forward and back, just like that as well. Now, what's also cool is there is a swivel at the thigh, so this way we can twist and turn the legs from side to side. We do have a single hinge at the knee, so that's about the extent of the range of movement there. And as you saw earlier when we took a look at the shoe, there is just one hinge, and this is about the range of movement that we get there for the ankle. So overall, the articulation isn't super stellar. We're not going to put him in any sort of Iron Man pose, but if you want him to hold his notebook, right, you can get him to do that. There's just one critique that I have about the articulation overall. Let's see, there we go. Now we have him to hold his notebook. Oh, isn't that nice? And that is, you can't really see the joints. And since you can't see the joints, it may be difficult at times, specifically in the arms, where you're going to move them and you're like, well, come on, hinge, work, work, work. You take the jacket off and then you see, oh, wait a minute, the hinge isn't moving this way for the arm. It's still moving that way. So don't force anything. You might break it. Just go ahead and well, take his clothes off. Verify which direction the joint is supposed to be moving, and you'll be good to go. That's not necessarily a fault of NECA as much as it is just the overall design of the figure and the fact that the joints can get a little wonky. Anyway, articulation, yeah, it's fine enough. He's not going to be doing any Kamen Rider kicks, but you know what? It works. And I just realized I put him in a fancy dancing pose, so maybe we'll just have him dance for a little bit while we transition on over to the accessories, which, by the way, the notebook does have a hinge. Oh, the notebook. That's right. In the accessories department, Guillermo del Toro here comes with the notebook he used when he was working on Pan's Labyrinth. Now, I know you saw the cover. We're going to take a look at that in a second. On the inside, again, this opens on a hinge. NECA actually did a really nice job of recreating some of those sketchings and some of the wordage that was used, even though you can't tell out what specifically was used. Yeah, it definitely does look like a very creative mind was at work here, and it's nice to see that conveyed into this, well, essentially only accessory that he does come with. Now, on the front cover, the back cover, and the binding, the book is, well, painted a nice sort of brown color. Here's an issue. With mine, you see, I opened my Guillermo del Toro right after I got him. I inspected the figure, no big deal. Didn't take out the book. Once I did take the tape off that was holding the notebook in place, it ripped some of the paint with it. I'm already in contact with NECA. I'm not expecting a replacement part, but yeah, good quality there. Yeah, I'm probably just going to repaint it. But anyway, it does look good. We do have nice sculpt marks on the front cover, and of course, we are also going to have some paint used to make it look like it does have some pages in the book itself. Very neat. Now, the left hand is him with like sort of a claw, so this way he can hold stuff. I would not recommend putting the book in that hand. I made an attempt to do that, and it already started to lift the decal that is used for the inner pages of the book. So, yeah, just don't do that. The hands are very hard plastic. You don't want to risk damaging the figure or the book. Now, it isn't necessarily an accessory, but Guillermo del Toro here does come with a very nice box compared to some of the other cloth-style retro action figures that NECA makes. And instead of just that opening and closing and resealable clamshell, we do have this nice box, which admittedly does look much nicer. If you're thinking about getting this guy, just keep him in the box and put him up on your shelf. He'll still look good. The only issue is that you may have some paint flakes on the front window box because this figure is flaky. So all in all, for accessories, yeah, I mean, for all intents and purposes, mine may as well just came with a nice box because that notebook is pretty disappointing. Now we're going to go ahead and move on to size comparison here. And as you can see, he does tower over some of your other average size figures like SH Figuarts and maybe some SH Monster Arts. However, once you move closer into the NECA territory around the 7 and 8 inch scale, he does blend in right at home, which is pretty obvious. So buy now, skip, or wait for a deal. You probably know where I'm going to go with this one, and I'm going to have to say that overall, I really don't think this is all that great of a figure. It does seem pretty, well, to be honest, lazy because they just reuse the bodies that they've been using for so many previous releases, but not necessarily so much that, as it is they painted his hands and face is different color than the body. Yep. Now, I'm not saying he should be tan, but you at least can't match the plastic. Yeah. And then, of course, the bummer of the accessory there. Yeah, that didn't help. Now, even though the figure really isn't that great, I feel, overall, I do think this is a neat release. And for about $40, you're going to have a 7-inch scale Guillermo del Toro on your shelf alongside your Ultraman, alongside your Gypsy Danger, alongside a Hellboy figure you might get, a Pale Man, whatever it might be. You are going to be able to live out maybe some of your childhood fantasies and maybe have him direct a battle scene between Godzilla and King Kong on your shelf. Yes, it's not a great figure, but I gotta be honest with you here, folks. From the bottom of my heart, I didn't get this knowing that it would be a great figure. I knew right away from the promotional shots there would probably be a few corners cut, but I got it because this is a figure of the man himself. And to be honest with you, it warms my heart seeing him right next to some of my Godzilla stuff. It's pretty cool. Well, collectors, that brings us to the end of the video today, and I just wanted to take a second to thank you so much for watching. Now, you've heard a lot from me. I'd like to hear a little bit from you. Drop in the comments down below whether or not you liked it, you hated it, or maybe you were somewhere in between. I also want to take an extra second here for a nice, humongous thank you to all the patrons for SDR over the last month who have really helped the channel grow into what it can be today. So to all of you, 2 big thumbs up. Thank you very much. And now the end card should be popping up, which will give you a few clickable links, like maybe to subscribe or head on over to my Patreon, or some short URLs like to my social media or to my Teespring store. There's also a video I hand-selected for you, so if you want to watch another STR video, I hand-selected some good content for you to watch, so definitely check out that video. Thank you again so much for watching, and I'll catch ya in the next video.